Welcome to the Joe Cohen Show. Join me as I share my experience with biohacking and invite top health experts to explore the latest technology, supplements, research, and resources for optimizing your body and brain. Today we're going to be talking about the Genova NutrEval test. This is the NutrEval FMV amino acids. Now, I wasn't such a big fan going into this, and I'm still not a big fan. I don't think I'll be repeating the test. Yet, I think it's important to understand the test and see what could we get from it, what is useless, what is good. So there's a couple things that I don't like about it. There's a couple things that I do. Mostly, I would say it's not worth it given the expense, given how difficult it is to take the test. It was actually quite annoying to take the test. You have to do it very specifically. I took a combination of a blood test plus a urine test, and it has to be sent in a specific way. A lot of people do it wrong, yet I got lucky with the person who drew it correctly. So I would say overall it was not worth it. So when we look at it, there's the cost involved in taking the test. That's the actual cost, the dollar cost. There's the time involved and the hassle. There was a high hassle. And then there's how accurate the interpretation is, or what do you get from it? And I think that I don't think I got much, I don't think I got anything from the test, to be honest. So I would say that it doesn't make the cut for me to get this test. And I'm going to go through why. I've been open-minded over the years about getting this test, but now I just think it's not a good thing. Okay, we're going to go through some of the results here. Okay, first let's go for the need for antioxidant support. They're saying that I have high taurine. Now, that's not a bad thing. There's, in the animal studies, animals that had high taurine lived longer, about 10% longer. So this is actually a longevity molecule. It's a longevity supplement, and I supplement with taurine, so it makes sense that it's higher. And if we look at my lab result here, it also shows that it's on the higher end. Not high, though. So I would say that I don't know where they're getting this from. I think they're getting it from how much taurine is being urinated out. That's part of the issue here, is they're not telling you where they get this information from, like nutrient need overview, functional imbalance scores, and they don't tell you interpretation at a glance. They don't tell you exactly why they're telling you these things. When we look at need for mitochondrial support, it's saying I have high levels of glutaric acid, high levels of pyruvic acid, and higher levels of malic acid and succinic acid. But the issue is that they're not telling you exactly why these things. In this case, the omega-3 stuff, this is actually reasonably accurate, but that's because they're checking it in the blood. This stuff, they're checking things in the urine, I think, and they're making inferences. Toxin exposure is the same thing. They're checking things in the urine and they're making inferences, and probably methylation support as well, because the amino acid test was a urine amino acid test. But again, they're not saying what it's from, so it's not clear to me where they're getting the information from. But just from this thing, I can't really get anything. Maybe I could get some information from the omega-3, the omega balance thing, or the omega imbalance, they call it. So far, I don't know if I wouldn't draw any conclusions from any of these other bits of information here. Now, when we go to the nutrient need overview, this is something I know very acutely because I know what nutrients I take. It says vitamin A, suggested recommendations 5,000 IU. Okay, potentially. Vitamin E, I am taking some vitamin E, so it's doubtful that I need more. 200 IU is a lot. I don't know where they're getting this from. CoQ10, I do take CoQ10, and I take the ubiquinol. I was taking 100 to 200 milligrams a day here, so I don't think I need more CoQ10, yet they're saying that I have a higher need. I don't think this is the case. If I looked at also my serum CoQ10, that level was pretty good. So given the information I have, I think this is just wrong. Vitamin E and vitamin A is not clear to me, but either way, it shows I'm borderline. Plant-based antioxidants, I don't know what I was eating then. Maybe I needed some more, who knows? But I don't know where they're drawing these conclusions from. B vitamins. Here's where I know they're definitely not right. So they're telling me to take 50 milligrams of B1, and they're saying, let's see, so nutrient need overview, DRI suggested recommendation. So I'm assuming what this means is that I have a high need this is a nutrient need. I have a high need for B1. Guess what? I was taking 50 to 100 milligrams a day here of B1. I do not need more B1. And it shows I'm like highly deficient. Same with riboflavin, same with niacin, same with B6. Basically, if you check all these markers in my blood, including folate, including B12, I have high levels of all these, and I actually take more than the recommended dosage that they are telling me to take. So I was taking higher levels of niacin. B2, I was taking what they're saying here, the 50 milligrams, maybe a little less, but everything else I was either taking the same or more. Magnesium, I doubt I have more of a need for magnesium here. Manganese, my serum levels are quite good and my dietary levels are pretty good. I don't see why. I don't know where they're coming up with this. That's the problem, is it just seems like random stuff. But for certain things, like the B vitamins, I know for a fact this is false. Saying digestive support enzymes, I was taking a lot of digestive enzymes. I was also taking a lot of probiotics. So it's not clear what that means exactly. Amino acids, glutamine, I was taking way more glutamine than this. Okay, all this is garbage, these B vitamin needs. I'm skeptical of this stuff also. It's not showing anything in the red, but I'm still skeptical that I need more of any of these, because especially zinc. My zinc is on the higher level. My manganese is on the higher level. My magnesium is always good. And my molybdenum, I was supplementing with molybdenum there, actually. Again, it's not clear to me that any of these things are accurate here. The mineral needs, the B vitamin needs seem to be off. The omega-3 needs, that seems to be on, but that was tested with the blood. Need for methylation, I don't think so. My homocysteine was low over here. It's saying I have a 6. My homocysteine was pretty low at this point. And let's see, what was my homocysteine at that point? Homocysteine. It went around that time. It was 6. 6 is quite a good homocysteine. I was taking a lot of methylation supplements. I doubt it. I doubt there's any issue there. Mitochondrial dysfunction, I don't think so. Toxic exposure. This one, they indicated where it's coming from. I think this is bullshit, but we'll go into that a little more. So far, it just seems like either it's not clear or it's clearly bullshit. Oxidative stress support, oxidative stress and mitochondrial dysfunction. They're giving me this whole diagram here, but again, where are they getting this stuff from? They're getting this from the amino acids. So they're making a lot of conclusions from these organic acids. And let's go through these organic acids and understand what's going on there. Okay, let's start with high phenylacetic acid. Basically, this is a metabolite of phenylalanine. So if you have a high protein diet, you will have higher levels of this metabolite in the urine, right? If you take in more phenylalanine, which is in animal foods, typically, it's in any high protein foods typically, but if you're taking in more high protein foods, you're going to pee more of this metabolite out in the urine. Now, all these metabolites, basically, if you look at each one of these, and you're going to see a recurring theme here. If you look at each one of these, what it is, each metabolite can be from 10 different causes. And one significant cause is just eating a higher protein diet. The biggest problem about this Genova test is this organic acids Genova test, which is a mainstay in functional medicine, is that you have to adjust for the protein intake. If somebody's on a very high protein diet, the results are going to be extremely different than if somebody's on a low protein diet. And in my case, not only am I on a high protein diet, I also supplemented with specific amino acids. And anytime I supplemented with an amino acid, or even in this case, anytime I supplemented with an amino acid, I found more metabolites of that amino acid in the system. Now, this test interpreted that to mean that usually something else was wrong. There's a higher level of some toxin here, or you need some more B vitamin, if because I think they're assuming that you break one compound down to another, and if that compound can't break to another, maybe you're missing some vitamins. So they're making an inference based on the whole Genova test. This whole Genova test is an inference based on what you're peeing out, and what you're peeing out could have many causes. Each metabolite can have 10, 20 different causes, 30, right? And that's what we know about. There could be hundreds that we don't know about, right? The idea is that they're giving you this clue, but there could be so many causes, and the biggest one typically is just the amount of protein you're eating. So if you're eating less protein, you could have less of a metabolite. If you're eating more protein, you can have more. Now, what happens if you have less protein, but you also have a deficiency? Maybe it's going to be in the middle. What if you have more protein and you have enough? Guess what? You're still going to have high levels of these metabolites in the urine, as is my case. I supplement with every nutrient pretty much if I need it. I'm doing a lot of testing. I do a lot of self experiments. So I take things all the time. I see, do I need it? Like, how do I feel from it? With zinc, it's not only that I look in the serum, I'm also taking zinc sometimes and seeing, okay, if I take more zinc, what happens? And usually maybe I'll get more nauseous if I take more zinc. But in this case, phenylacetic acid is a metabolite of phenylalanine, and they're going to interpret this to mean something else: dysbiosis, malabsorption. And if you notice, by the way, I have higher levels pretty much of almost all these things. It's either in the yellow or red, or it's not low generally. Okay, now we go to this indole acetic acid. This is a metabolite of tryptophan. I supplement with tryptophan. If you eat more tryptophan, you're going to have more of the metabolite. Very simple. Yes, I am in the yellow over here, but what does this mean? It doesn't mean malabsorption or dysbiosis. It just means that I take in more tryptophan and I take in more phenylalanine. Now, again, it could also mean dysbiosis, but you need to make sure that you're adjusting, right? There's adjusting for exactly how much of this amino acid you're intaking in the day. And because they are not doing this, all the results are garbage. Again, now I am supplementing, for example, let's say I'm supplementing with, at this time, I think I was supplementing with 2 grams of tryptophan a day. You could say, okay, 2 grams of tryptophan, that is a good amount. Maybe it should be through the roof, but no, it's actually 3.2. It's in the yellow. I wasn't supplementing with phenylalanine, but I was on a high protein diet. So if you eat more phenylalanine, then you're also going to pee more of it out. So in some cases it goes up more, in some cases not as much. It's like, how do I know how do they know, and how do I know how to calibrate each marker based on exactly how much of the amino acid you're taking in? And they're basically just inferring something completely different, that I've got malabsorption and dysbiosis. Now, this dihydroxyphenylpropionic acid, okay? Now, this is something that I have high in. And what could high levels be caused by? It could be caused by dysbiosis. And some of that might not even be bad. For example, Clostridium sporogenes basically is a good one. That could be one of the things that cause it. It could be that it's a breakdown of polyphenols. So basically these bacteria break down polyphenols. So if you eat more polyphenols, if you take in more polyphenols, maybe you'll have more of these bacteria. Sometimes it's a breakdown product of dopamine. So high levels can indicate dopamine degradation. It could indicate chronic infections and inflammatory conditions. But in my case, actually, I think it's more related to foods rich in polyphenols like tea, coffee, berries, wine, or fermented foods like kombucha or sauerkraut. Now, when I was doing this test, I was drinking a lot of kombucha. So I was drinking some tea, taking in some berries. How are we going to figure out how much of this is related to that? And maybe you say, okay, I don't drink kombucha, I don't drink tea. Do you drink coffee? Everybody's going to do almost one of these things, and we don't know exactly how much it's going to elevate this marker. We could keep going, and basically when you just go down through each one of these, you get the same result. There's many reasons for each of these occurring, and you don't know what it's from. Most of the time I found that it's just higher level of an amino acid. Now, these are not, again, I'm not going to go through, these are not out of whack enough. The branched chain amino acids. Okay. It's basically saying B1, B2, B3, ALA. They're telling you what inferences they're making over here. And they say folate and B12 for methylation markers. But in this case, you know that all these inferences are bad because when I looked up all of these amino acids, glutaric acid, alpha ketoadipic acid, alpha keto isovaleric acid, all these organic acids basically are breakdown products of branched chain amino acids. Because I take in more protein and because I was taking in those amino acids, they're all pretty much higher, right? And quite a lot higher, not just maybe 5%, 10%. So in this case, yeah, I mean, it's extremely significantly higher. And my concern is, let's say this alpha keto isovaleric acid, my concern is that this is 4 times the upper end of the reference range, or maybe it's wherever it's red, maybe upper 4 times the end of the reference range, which is 0.97. Is that because I'm just taking in more of an amino acid? I have to check which. I assume this is which. Yeah, so I assume this one is a metabolite of valine, and I looked it up, and it is. And yeah, I was taking a little bit of valine, and then some of them are metabolites of other amino acids that I was taking even more. And so sometimes just a little more of an amino acid can make a big change. Sometimes a lot more can make a big change, or sometimes a lot more can make a small change. You don't know. The problem is we don't know exactly if you take 20% more of an amino acid, are you going to have 4x this reference range here? This just completely screwed up all the branched chain amino acids. Now, you might ask, why did you take supplements when you did this test? Because I take the supplements that I know I need more of, and I want to see what happens when I know I'm getting sufficient quantities. So if I am not taking it, number one, like I'll know, yes, I need more of it. I could do that test. I guess I just didn't want to go 2 weeks without taking a bunch of stuff just because I know I need it. I do well with it. Let's say if I'm taking my full regimen, I could see what are some things I should do based on now that I'm taking these things. Maybe I'm taking too much. Maybe I'm taking too little. It wasn't able to inform if I'm taking too much of something or too little of something, right? It's really just saying you have higher levels of these metabolites, and that could be normal. Whereas, because there's no research studies showing that if you have a higher level of metabolite, it means X, Y, Z in your urine. What we have studies is showing sometimes when you have a higher level of an amino acid in your serum, this is what it means. Because your body is adjusting your serum more than your urine. Your urine is basically whatever you're not using, it goes out. So I don't think I could get any information from this test so far. And even if I wasn't taking any supplements, I'm very skeptical of what I could get from this test, just because now I realize that it's all dependent on how high of a protein diet you're consuming. If you're on a vegan diet, your results are going to be completely different than if you're on a carnivore diet. Kynurenine markers. Now, Kynurenic acid, again, this is a breakdown of tryptophan. I don't think this is related to vitamin B6. These are all related to tryptophan pretty much. Let's see this one. This is a metabolite of tryptophan. So because I'm taking higher levels of tryptophan, I'm supplementing with tryptophan. These are all high. Now, these are all quite higher if I was taking less or just had a higher protein diet. Again, some people have a very wide range of tryptophan consumption, and it's making a lot of conclusions based on this. This is also going to be based on amino acids that actually maybe not this one, the catecholamine markers. These are all normal. So probably actually not related to the amino acids. When all of them are high, these branched chain catabolites, these dysbiosis markers, these are mostly malabsorption markers, the kynurenine markers. These are related to how much amino acids you're taking in. I think this one, my guess is, again, anytime I see something very high, I'm just like, it's probably related to an amino acid. Let's see what this one is. Alpha hydroxybutyric acid. This amino acid is a breakdown product of valine, threonine, and methionine. like I thought, which again, I'm taking more of all of them in some way or another. I'm not taking methionine, but I do consume more methionine in an animal-based diet. I looked at this before, and basically every time I was high in something, I would just look up what amino acid causes this to be high. And then I would be like, okay, yeah, I get more of that amino acid. In this case, pyruvic acid, it's not very high. The stuff that these two are going to be related to amino acids, this pyruvic acid doesn't seem to arrive from any breakdown in amino acids. But again, it could be related to other things. I don't know. If when I look it up, it says it could be related to B1 deficiency, which I get enough of, more than enough. CoQ10, alpha lipoic acid, any mitochondrial support supplement I am pretty much on. I'm not sure what to make of this one per se. In this case, I'd probably want to retest it. Maybe I ate a lot of carbohydrates. It's hard to know what that's coming from. Yeah, if you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, then yeah, you could have higher pyruvic acid. Let's look at toxins and detoxification. Again, I looked at this one because this was very high, and this one as well. These are breakdowns of amino acids. Now, it could be from styrene or MTBE, but actually, most likely case is just breakdown of some amino acid. So this comes from valine degradation, this alpha hydroxy isobutyric acid. And this one, alpha keto phenylacetic acid, is a metabolite of phenylalanine. Like I said, anytime I see things very high, it's a marker of some kind of breakdown product. Here, the serotonin marker, I do take a lot of serotonin precursors. It makes sense why I have more of this serotonin breakdown, 87.2. Now, you might say, wow, you have so much serotonin, Joe, but actually that serotonin is very useful for me. It stabilizes my mood a lot. And so you can have this serotonin marker by doing things that increase serotonin, even probably just by eating more meat and having more tryptophan in your diet. But I also do other things that increase serotonin, like 5-HTP. Again, they're probably taking this and coming to some conclusion from it, which I don't think is warranted. Let's see the oxidative stress markers. So these are actually legit markers. We're starting to get to some legit markers here. Whole-blooded glutathione is a legit marker, and this lines up more or less with what I've done in other tests. This one, this CoQ10 in the serum, it didn't go through in the end, but I've checked it before. It was normal. This urine marker is a marker of oxidative stress, and it's a pretty good marker, actually. Now they tell me amino acids in the urine. So valine, I have high levels in the urine. Tryptophan, high levels in the urine. Threonine, high levels in the urine. Taurine, high levels. So it's just basically a lot of amino acids are high levels in the urine, which is interesting. Some of them are not high levels in the urine, like lysine, which I do supplement, histidine, which I do supplement, and arginine, well, I supplement with citrulline. So they're going through intermediate metabolites of B vitamins, okay. But again, these are of other things as well. Non-essential amino acids, I don't supplement with any of these. I do supplement with glutamine, so something's weird there. And beta-alanine I supplement with as well, so it's showing its higher levels. But again, this is in the urine. This is not. So far, I didn't get anything from these actual, like these amino acids. Oh, citrulline is higher. Again, yes, I did supplement with that. Urea is higher, probably just because of more amino acids. So I'm peeing more urea out. Now, we get to something that is quite useful, actually. But again, you could test it in other ways. This is red blood cells of fatty acids. I think this is interesting. And it probably matches up with what's going on. It shows I have high EPA and high DHA and high omega-3 percentage, which makes sense because I take omega-3s. High ALA, which makes sense because I take ALA, flax oil. Good oleic acid, sure. Fine. Then there's saturated fatty acids. They're all more or less, I don't know, they're all around. They all seem okay. My GLA is high. I do supplement with that. It's good to have higher GLA. My DGLA is lower, But when you look at the nutrients that convert GLA to DGLA, I think they even show that here. Yes, GLA to DGLA. I take all these nutrients in higher doses. So I wouldn't know what to do differently, to be honest. Maybe, yeah, and also I'm lower in arachidonic acid, so it's not like that DGLA is converting into arachidonic acid. I don't know. I don't think this is a nutrient deficiency thing because I take enough of these. Again, what do I make of this? Hard to know here, right? DGLA is something good, but the main way to increase it is actually just GLA, which I am taking, and you could see I have enough of. So it's hard for me to know what I would do here. I am taking all the nutrients in pretty good quantities. What else? Nothing else here. Okay, the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is 1.6. I don't necessarily agree with this range here. 1.6 I think is good. They have 3.4. Arachidonic to EPA ratio is 2, so I have low arachidonic to EPA, which a lot of people would say is good. I don't know where they're getting this range from. Omega-3 index is good. 11.9 is actually a good index. So I don't know. Basically, in these cases, I'm disagreeing with their ranges. Now, element markers, this is plasma RBC. Okay, now we're talking about already, again, this is actually interesting stuff. Copper levels are normal. Magnesium RBC is normal. Manganese whole blood is normal. Optimal, according to their markers. And according to the other tests I've done too, potassium is optimal. Selenium is optimal. Zinc is optimal. Now, all these markers make sense according to the other tests I've done. And all my heavy metals are low here. Mercury is not detectable. Arsenic is very low. 0.5 is the arsenic, whereas their range is 13.7, less than 13.7. Cadmium is 0.27, their range is less than 1.22. Lead is 0.71, their range is less than 2.81. So much lower on the heavy metals. But again, they're checking this stuff through the serum or the blood. Yeah, this is a whole blood measurement. So either whole blood, plasma, serum, RBC, yeah, red blood cells. So I think that's a good test. The omega-3 is a good test. And by the way, whenever they're doing good tests, it actually makes a lot of sense. And there's clearly things that I know what to do. Okay, if I'm low on any of these things, I should take more of it. But I know I'm not because I supplement with these. So except manganese, but I get enough in my diet and I always have enough in my blood. So I see no reason to do that. Yeah. So the conclusion of this test is there's a few things. The things that are good are generally what's in the blood. And that's the stuff that I think is useful. And that's the stuff I measure. And that's why you're seeing that, okay, yes, these are good results. Then there's stuff in the omega-3, the fatty acid profile is pretty good. Mainly the omega-3, I'd say that's pretty accurate. I might disagree with some of their ranges actually, but overall I would say at least they're giving you an accurate view of what's going on in your blood. And then when it comes to all the amino acids, all these metabolite stuff is garbage. Yes, I'm assuming it's accurate in terms of it seems accurate in terms of what you're peeing out. If I look at the test, I'm like, yes, I could see why I would pee more of this out. Whole blood glutathione. So the oxidative stress markers are pretty good. I would say they're valid. You can learn things. But all the urine stuff, pretty much that I can see, seems like garbage. There could be a couple exceptions, right? But what I'm seeing is that there's a lot of stuff coming out of whack, and all that is related to just how much amino acids you're taking in. And that will indicate how much metabolites of these amino acids you're peeing out. And then what's even more garbage is they're giving you, this is the most garbage, their whole interpretation. Because this interpretation is based on data that is already suspect. So they're telling you, hey, look, there's 30 causes for each of these things. And they're like, yeah, they're just relating it to the B vitamins, which is one of them. It doesn't seem like a very sophisticated analysis over here. So I think that overall, I think certain elements, the main point of this test, which is the amino acids, I think is garbage. There's nothing I can learn from it, and that's why I wouldn't recommend it to other people. I think this is a mainstay in functional medicine, but I think that's a mistake, and I think people need to start moving away from it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this podcast. Please subscribe, send your love, and best of luck. 67% of listeners aren't subscribed to the show, so please don't forget to show your support by hitting the subscribe button now. You'll not only be supporting the show, but also investing in yourself and your health journey, all while helping to keep us ad-free.